Hey everyone, it's DiabeticDanica. I was diagnosed with type 1 diabetes when I was 11 years old, and this is the story of how that happened. So let me paint a picture for you. It was a summer day, kind of. My school actually started school pretty early, so it was like August. But I just started school, and my mom and I were going to go shopping for some back-to-school clothes. But first of all, I had a doctor's appointment, and so we were going to do that and have a mommy-daughter day, get lunch and go shopping. And then my dad and my brother were going to the county fair to watch a concert and hang out there. And the reason I was going to the doctor first was that my grandma had told us that I should go because we had been hanging out with her at a park, and she noticed that I was going to the bathroom a lot, and so she kind of asked, like, how often are you getting up? And I was like, 7 or 8 times a night. And she was like, oh, you might want to go to the doctor. So she didn't tell us she thought it was diabetes. She actually used to be a nurse, so she knew that it was diabetes, but she didn't want to scare us or anything. So we set up an appointment, and we were going to go. Now, up to this point, some of my symptoms were obviously going to the bathroom a lot, especially in the middle of the night. I was also drinking a lot of water. I would fill up an entire water bottle before I went to bed, and I would sometimes drink it before I even got to my room. Like, I would just be already would be half gone, and I'd just be like, oh, I need some more. It got to the point where I could tell just by sound, when my water bottle was full, because I filled it up so often. And I also didn't eat a lot. I would make a sandwich, I remember, and I couldn't even really finish it, just because I was full. And I lost a lot of weight. I think I don't remember the exact amount, but it was, I don't know, 20 to 30 pounds. That's just a guess, but I lost a lot of weight. I was really skinny, and those would be my main symptoms. So on the way to the doctor, I basically was really, really scared of shots. And so the whole way I'm just like, so Mom, we're not getting a shot, right? We're not getting a shot, right, Mom? Like, the whole way. And she thought this was just a checkup, and so she was like, no, we're not going to get a shot. That's not what we're here for, and it's going to be fine. So we get in there, and we tell them my symptoms, and they check my blood sugar. And I guess still kind of do, but I'm used to them now. But I used to hate needles, and so I cried and it hurt, and I was just like, bleh. So they checked it, and they told us I was about 500 something. I forgot the exact number, but 500 something. And of course, this meant nothing to me. I was like, okay. So they told me that I had diabetes and that I had to go straight to the hospital. I remember the first thing I thought after being told I was diabetic in that doctor's office was, that's not true. Diabetes only happens in older people. Like, I'd seen commercials with that guy, if you have diabetes and you're on Medicare. So I just figured it was old people, and I was like, that's not true, I don't have that. And so I was totally in denial from the beginning. So my mom asked, can we stop at home to get something first? Is that okay? And they were like, no, you have to go straight to the hospital. And so we're kind of like, awesome. So we get in the car, and as we're driving to the hospital, which I think was about half an hour, 40 minutes away, I just remember asking my mom, what is diabetes? And we both had no idea. We didn't know anything about it. We didn't know anybody with it, really. And I just remember she said, it's a condition, kind of like asthma. And so that's what we were going off of. That was all we knew. So we get to the hospital, and we go to the emergency room, I think, but they had called it in already, so they knew we were coming. And so we didn't wait or anything. We just went straight in, and I remember the nurse was kind of mean. She had this wheelchair with her, and I was like, oh, no, it's fine. I can walk. I felt normal because I'd been 500 probably for a couple weeks or something. I don't know, a week or so. And I was just feeling I was just feeling normal. And so I was like, oh, no, it's fine. I can walk. And she was like, no, you need to sit in the wheelchair. And I was like, okay, geez. I just remember thinking she was so mean, and I felt so stupid sitting in a wheelchair because I could walk. Anyway. So they take me to this room, and they put an IV in, and this actually didn't hurt at all. I think I had a pro nurse because I didn't even feel that thing going in. But while they were putting it in, there was someone talking to me at the same time, so maybe I was just distracted. But this person was awesome. She was so nice, and she was explaining kind of what diabetes was in an easy to understand way. And so she was saying how insulin is the key that opens the cell so that the little cars, which is the food you eat, can get into the cell, and the cell can use the food you eat. And yeah, so she just used a really helpful analogy, and she was really nice. And my mom still calls her like an angel today because she was pretty and nice and perfect, and she was just really helpful, in a stark contrast to the wheelchair nurse who was like, sit down. So I ended up being in the hospital for about 3 days, I believe, and during that time it was just filled with a lot of learning, a lot of crying. My mom stayed there with me, which was really great. She just slept in I'm sure it wasn't comfortable, but a window seat, and yeah, she was with me the whole time, and that was really cool. And I just remember, her calling a bunch of people when I first got there, letting them know, leaving a message at home for my brother and my dad when they got back from the fair. And, they came and visited me, and they were, really worried, obviously, and they brought me a stuffed animal from the fair, and it was really sweet. And I remember I had a whole chair full of stuffed animals and balloons and stuff from family and friends who were supporting me. And during those 3 days, we watched a lot of informational videos that were old, and I just remember this big, overweight guy in a bed in his pajamas, and he was teaching us how to give a shot, and he had his big belly out, and he was like, "Oh, this is how you do it," and it was really bizarre to me. And I just remember every time they would give me an insulin shot, every time they would check my blood sugar, it would hurt, and I would cry, and I did not like it at all. And then besides the informational videos, we also had this book, which is now falling apart. But this book, which was actually really helpful, I just remember my mom sitting next to the hospital bed and reading this book to me. We were trying to figure out what diabetes was and what we were doing. And of course, I was just not wanting to really pay attention and learn stuff, but I had to, and my mom was really helpful in reading this to me. I also had a lot of people come visit me in the hospital, a lot of family members. I remember one uncle in particular really, really cheered me up. He was goofy, and he was joking around, and it was just really lighthearted and fun. It was just a really positive, upbeat energy for that time in the hospital. But it was different to be living in a hospital for a couple days. It's something you see in movies and something you hear about, but when it actually happens to you, it's kind of it's odd. Another memory I have of being in the hospital was that someone came around and was bringing instruments to the kids to play with. And I remember I picked out a piano because I like to mess around on pianos. And just as I'm about to play it, a diabetes educator or a nurse or someone comes in and is like, "Okay, now we're going to teach you this." And I'm like, no. I was just I just remember being so mad because I finally got a toy to play with, and now I gotta learn stuff. So that whole 3 days was just really overwhelming, lots to learn, scary. I wasn't feeling my best. I remember getting stomach aches because I had ketones, and every time I went to the bathroom, I had to pee in this little bowl thing in the toilet so that it could catch it and they could check it for ketones. I got a shower once, but it was really difficult because I had an IV, and it was just blah. And so at this point, I could not give my own shots at all. So my mom and my dad were learning how to do that for me, and started giving me shots and all that stuff. But I do remember learning how to check my blood sugar, and I vividly remember wondering which end of the strip went into the meter. And I asked her, and she told me, and I just, logged that away. And I just remember being really reluctant to learn it, moving really slow, getting the strip out and getting it ready. And I had someone else poke me because I wasn't at the point where I could do that yet, but I just remember being really reluctant to do anything about it. I also remember not liking the name diabetes because it had the word "die" in it, and it sounded really negative, and it was about death. So I think, petition, let's call it livabetes. Yeah? Okay. And then the last day I was in the hospital, I remember my brother and my dad came, and they said they had a surprise for me. And I looked through the doorway, and out popped my best friend, Tiffany. And I was really excited to see her, and she also brought another light, happy thing to the room. And I actually got to go home that day. But we eventually made it home, and I just remember sitting on the couch, just thinking like that I was home, but there was so much I still had to do, and I was still just so sad and and mad that it happened to me, and I was just, I don't know, there was just a lot to think about, and we were overwhelmed. My first day back to school, all my friends were really, really cool about it. They were all worried about me, and they treated me the same, like nothing had changed, but they were definitely worried, and they cared for me, which was really nice. And my mom actually she didn't have to, but she went to school with me the first, I want to say just first day, but it might have been a couple days. But she was there just to help me get used to like doing diabetes things at school, and that was really helpful.